Today's lesson is 9.7, Simple and Compound Interest. We have a lot of notes to take today, so if you would get out your notebooks and have something to write with, you can begin by copying down the terms listed on the screen. So the first term is principal, the money deposited in a savings account. So anytime you make a deposit into a savings account, that is your principal, or the amount of money that you have in the account that you put in there. Interest is the money the bank pays you for depositing money. A lot of times the interest is a rate, which we're going to talk about down here, the percentage of the balance that an account or investment earns over a fixed period of time. So sometimes your interest rate could be 5%. That's pretty good nowadays. A lot of times now it might be 0.5% or half of a percent, or maybe it's 1.25%. But those are all examples of interest rate. Simple interest is interest that is paid only on the principal, and then compound interest is when the bank pays interest on the principal and the interest that you earn. So how do you find the balance of your account? You take the principal and you add the interest to it. So what I want you to do is, if you're not done copying down these terms, which I'm sure you're not, pause the video and then come back when you're done, and we're going to go over some examples of simple and compound interest problems. Okay, welcome back. The first problem that we're going to look at is the simple interest formula. Here's the formula for simple interest. I, or interest, is equal to P times R times T. So like I just said, I is the interest, P is the principal, or the amount that you deposit, R is the interest rate, and T is going to be your time, and you need to make sure that it's always in years. So let's find the simple interest on this account here. So we have the interest, and that's going to equal your principal, which is $250, multiplied by your rate. Now 4%, we need to change that to a decimal, so we move it 2 places to the left. To hold the decimal point out there, we have to put in a 0, so we put 0.04, and then we're going to multiply it by the time in years. So that's 3 years that we're depositing that money. So we take 250 times 0.04 times 3, and we get $30 that you get in interest. Now, what if you wanted to know the balance on your account? That's your interest. The balance would be equal to your principal, $250, plus your $30 interest, which means in your account you would then have $280. This here is your interest. This is the balance. So let's look at the second example. This time we have a principal of same principal amount, $250. So we want to find the interest. Times your rate, 3.5%. We move the decimal 2 places to hold it out there. We fill in with a 0, so 0.035. And then we're going to multiply it by the time in years. Oops, here's a problem here. This is 6 months. We need that to be in years. 6 months is equal to half a year, so we would have 0.5 years. So instead of multiplying it by 6 months, we multiply it by 0.5 for half a year. So it's 250 times 0.035 times 0.5, which is $4, and we have 0.375, which is going to round to $4.38 in interest. But now if we wanted to know the balance, which they don't ask us for, they just ask us to find the interest. But if we wanted to find how much we had in our account, we would take $250 and we would add to that the $4.38, which just is, oh yeah, that's right. Which means that we would have $254.38 in our account, and that is the balance. Okay, so you need to be careful with these problems to see if they're asking for the interest that you're getting or if they want to know the balance. Now the second type of problem is a compound interest problem, and this formula is a little bit different. B, which is your final balance, is equal to the principal times 1 plus your interest rate raised to with the n exponent, which is the number of interest periods or the number of years. So let's look at this. B is going to be your final balance. P is the principal. R is the interest rate. And N is the number of interest periods, which is, in this case here, what the problems we're going to deal with today are only going to be in years. So let's try the formula out. So we want to find the account balance. So we start out with our principal, which is $900. That's the amount that we deposit. And then the annual compound interest is 2%. So we have 1 plus the interest rate. Now we need to change that to a decimal, so it's 0.02. And then it's to the nth power, which is the number of time periods, which in this case is 3 years. So we have 900 times 1.02 to the third power. So we have to follow order of operations. The first thing we're going to do is 1.02 to the third power. I can't read this on my calculator screen. 1.02 to the third power is 1.06. Then we're going to take, once we get that, we're going to multiply it by 900. And the balance is, and it should always be higher than what you start with, is $955.09. That is going to be the balance in your account. So you get $55.09 in interest. Now this is a simple interest problem. Remember, simple interest is just the principal times the rate times the time. So we put, why don't you try this problem on your own, and then when you're ready, come back and we'll check and see how you did. So pause the video and do the problem. All right, let's see what you got here. So interest is equal to the principal, which is $900 that you deposit, times the rate, which is 3%. So we change that to a decimal, that's 0.03. And then we're going to multiply that by the number of years, which is 5. So you get out your calculator, and the interest is equal to 900 times 0.03 times 5, which is $135. And all we needed to find was the simple interest. So the interest for this account, you would earn $135 over 5 years. Now let's look at this example. Why don't you, I'll read through it with you and then I want you to try it on your own. You deposit $400 in an account that earns 5% compound interest. So we're not doing a simple interest problem, but a compound interest problem. What is the balance? So we want to know the total in your account after 8 years. So remember, the balance is equal to the principal times 1 plus the rate to the nth power, or to the power of the number of years. So why don't you pause the video and work on this and then come back when you're ready. Okay, let's go ahead and see if you did this problem correctly. So you have 400 times 1 plus the interest rate. 5% we changed to a decimal. That is 0.05, and that's to the 8th power. So it's 400 times 1.05 to the 8th power. And I'm going to use my calculator. 1.05 to the 8th power is 1.477, and then I'm going to multiply that by 400, so I get $590.98, and that's the balance on the account. Just always remember to do the exponent first and then multiply it by your principal. Well, write down any questions that you have and bring them to class tomorrow, but that's all for today. Thanks.